Hello everyone, my name is Matt Schmidt and I guide people to heal themselves through what I like to call quantum healing. Okay, what is quantum healing? So in this segment I'm going to focus on what is covered in a remote quantum healing session. So quantum healing is healing the mind, body, and spirit to become the best version of you. All right? Um, Everything is a message to your body. Once you get the message, you just don't need those physical symptoms anymore. All right. In this, we connect to what is called your higher self. Your higher self is an aspect of you. I don't want to say we connect to it. You're always connected to it. That's kind of like, that indicates more separation. But you're always connected to this, and we just turn down that static a little more so you can listen to those messages. I didn't know what that was when I started. Everyone has a higher self. I didn't know what that was, but I realized, oh, I argue with that all the time. Every guy knows that voice because it's the one that they think they know better than. It's the one that's saying, "Shouldn't you be wearing safety glasses?" And you're and you're like, "No, no, I'll just squint." Okay, but once we start listening to that voice, that gut feeling, that intuition, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing. We find that life just gets way easier, and we don't need the hard lessons, the hard physical symptoms. You don't need to get hit by a semi to get a message. Okay, so um, in this, we just operate through different states of consciousness. That sounds scary, but you actually do this all the time. All right, within 60 seconds of watching TV, every single person is in an altered state of consciousness. If you don't believe me, try talking to someone that's watching TV or playing video games. All right, they're not there; they're operating from the other part of their mind, and we use that to our advantage. So we hang out there just a little bit longer. All right, you go through these states about 300 times a day without even trying. So some people are like, "Well, I don't think I can do this." You can't not do this. Okay, it's just a belief that you can't do this. So we just hang out there a little bit longer, and I guide you through the process of relaxing your body, relaxing your mind, so that we can listen a little bit closer to what everything is trying to tell you. Okay. So, what isn't this? This isn't anesthesia. This isn't amnesia. This isn't mind control. I can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do. I've already tried that, doesn't work. No, just kidding. But no, you're in complete control the entire time. Some people think like, oh, I was aware that you were talking to me because, yeah, I don't think this worked because I was aware of that. No, this isn't anesthesia. You're not going to be blacked out. I don't want you blacked out. That kind of defeats the purpose. So it's in that sweet spot between being fully awake and being fully alert. And like I said, you go through these states all the time. No one stays in a fully alert state. No one stays in a fully relaxed state. And you're actually bouncing through these all the time. So it does seem very natural as you're going through these. And I just hold your hand and we go together. Okay. Um, like I said, this isn't mind control. Some people are like, well, what are you gonna make me do? Nothing, or they're worried about what's gonna come up. I can't make you do anything or experience anything you don't want to experience. You're in complete control. If you don't ever want to do it, you just tell me, and we're done. Like, but we still go through the process of bringing you out correctly because you're in a deeper state of relaxation than you realize. All right. I probably won't make you dance like a chicken and all these other stereotypes that go along with this. Some people are afraid of. I've had people say, well, what if I don't come back? Well, if you've ever had a dream and woke up the next day, you'll be just fine. Okay? This isn't anything scary. It's completely natural, and you've done this your entire life. So people expect something like more grand or more profound, but really, this is all within you. And you don't even need me to do this. It's just easier with help. Okay? Um, I'm not the one healing you. You're actually healing yourself. And I just guide you through that process where you can make these huge shifts in your life. Everyone, doesn't matter who you are, everyone gets stuck at some point. When you get stuck, that's where I come in. And really, we can move through everything at that time. Okay, it's always easier when someone's asking the questions on your behalf because you can stay in that state of receiving and listening. And really, the art of this is asking those right questions, and I'm still learning that. So, asking those right questions really pulls all that information out, brings it to the surface, and then really you don't have to deal with it anymore. Okay? Some people are afraid about who they'll become after this. And really, you just get back to being you. You become the best version of you. Look at a little kid. They're not depressed, they're not anxious, they don't have all these physical problems. It's because they haven't packed on all the layers of crap. All right. So basically, we're just dumping off that garbage to get you back to who you truly are. And it's a really magical process. All right. So I'm not doing this. This is all you doing this. I just guide you through the process. So it's up to each individual to heal themselves. So the things that you've read, I've guided people to do those things, but really, it's all within them. All right. Everything is confidential. The things that I do share with people are things that I've asked permission to share with people, and I never say the people's names because, well, partially I don't remember anymore. But really, it's what I have to do to separate from each individual. Like finish with a person, and honestly, I won't even remember that person's name 20 minutes later. But it's what I have to do to separate and actually be fully present for the next person. So, like I said, everything is confidential, and the only things I share are what people say that I can share. Okay. To give you a little rundown of the process, it's actually pretty cool. So I actually have people prepare questions, usually like 10 to 15, maybe 20 at tops, or physical symptoms. They just list them, and really just that process of asking those questions, people already start experiencing things. People already start going through these shifts. Every time I ask, how do people like communicate easily with their higher self? Answer's always the same. Just ask. And be amazed at how stuff just comes to you just by going through that process and writing those things down. Some people have never thought about what they want. The process of writing those down kickstarts that process. So start that process early because that gets the ball rolling. Okay. Because time's not linear, I have people that will call me, and the second they make an appointment with me, their physical symptoms go away. That's because we already know what we're going to cover in our session, so there's no need for them to keep carrying some of these things with them. All right, so I have people prepare a list of questions. Then I'll send people the link to the meeting for a remote session. So currently I'm using Zoom. Seems to be working all right. The one thing I do require is headphones. Headphones with a mic attached. Okay, the reason that I require the microphone attached and the headphones is because everything's going great while we're talking like this, but the second you look away from the camera, all of a sudden you can't hear what the person's saying. So when the person lays down to do the next part of it, all of a sudden I can't hear what they're saying, and listening to it is a huge part of the process. Okay, listening back to your session and me being able to hear what you're saying. Okay, so everything is recorded. The recording is a huge part of the healing process. I give each person a copy of that recording, and the listening back to the recording is the most important way to hardwire in this news story. In terms of neuroscience, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's really happening and what you tell it's happening. So the easiest way to hardwire in this news story is by listening back to your session. Oh, I am healthy. Oh, I don't have to hang on to that. Oh, I can choose to do this. And that's the easiest way to make those biggest shifts in your life. All right. So like I said, the day of, I'll send you a link to a meeting. Right now I said I'm using Zoom. We'll talk for a couple hours. That kind of gives me the background so that I can ask the best questions on your behalf, because I don't want you in that analytical part of your mind where you're questioning everything. All right? Because the second you start saying, oh, am I doing this right? I don't think that's right. You're pulling yourself out of the process. All right, so I like to be the one asking the questions, start connecting all the dots, and actually a lot of this stuff is already happening in this time. Okay, I have people like start figuring out, oh, this is why this was. Oh, that started happening this time. Oh, this is going on in my life. Oh, okay, now I get where this is coming from. So people are already doing like a lot of the healing at that time. All right, so we'll talk for a couple hours. Then we go through a person's questions at the end of that. You'll find that a lot of them have already come up because they're important parts of your life. All right. Then we take a short little bathroom break, because when we do this, you're so relaxed that everything relaxes, and so we get that out of the way. If someone has to go to the bathroom during the middle of it, it's not a big deal. It's like you woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. Not a big deal at all. Okay, and then 10 seconds later, we'll pick up right where we left off. All right. Then we do the next part of that, the next part of the session. And I tell people to think of it kind of like a guided meditation, except I'm sitting there talking to them through the process. All right, so this is where the headphones with the microphone come in. Usually have a person laid down, someplace that's comfortable, free of distractions. Um, and that's where we connect to their higher self. We usually go through some visualization. We start with some visualization because everyone can do it. But really, after that, after we get it started, really shift into other things. So visualizing is just imagining in our mind. You do this anytime you bring up a memory, anytime you read a book. Everyone can do this. That's why we start there. Um, I've found out even blind people can visualize. So very interesting. So it's just imagining in our mind. Okay. Um, and then we shift into those other senses. Really shift into the feeling, the knowing, the other sensing. So we start there, and then eventually we connect to your higher self. Your higher self is always there. We actually just turn down the static so you can listen to your higher self a little bit more. Okay. Um, so during that process, if I ask to speak to your higher self, we're actually just shifting that focus so we can listen to the part of you that actually does know everything, rather than the part that thinks it does. And we can listen to those answers and really get the deeper answers and understanding. All right, and then at the end of that, we put in a couple words for each person so that they can get anchor in this state of deep relaxation and get back to this state themselves. All right. Well, like I said, this is recorded. I do send a copy of the recording to each individual after the session, and listening back to that recording is a huge part of the healing process. The people that made those big shifts, hardwired in that news story, were the ones that listened back to it and listened back to it the number of times that they said they were supposed to listen to it. So each person's different. I don't tell anyone what to listen to it, but their higher self gives them that information. All right, at the end of that, we kind of go over and kind of just recap the session. Even though we go over it, me saying it to you is no exchange for you hearing yourself say it the way that you said it. Okay? It's almost like a lock and key where something will just click for you. One example I have of this is I've heard someone say something to me 100 times, and it didn't actually make sense until I heard it from my higher self, and it was like, oh, that's what they mean. And I did not get it. I had heard it all kinds of different ways, but until I actually said it in a way that made sense to me, it didn't really resonate, didn't really click. So hearing yourself back or saying it back the way you said it is very important. Okay, couple of tips as we're going through the session when we do the guided meditation part. We're going to be talking back and forth, and one of the biggest things is to trust and say the first thing that comes to mind. The second you start saying, oh, I don't think I'm doing this right, I don't think that's the right answer, why would I say that? That's your conscious mind coming in to run the show. I always tell people you can analyze the crap out of it later, but for the time being, just get all the information out. And if we do that, we find that it ties together better than the best storytellers in the world could tell. So that is so important. Keeps you in that flow state, just letting stuff go through you. And half the time I'm like, what is this? But remember, we get to go back and ask. Okay? If you're seeing a naked man on a trampoline, I don't know what that is either, but hey, remember, we get to go back and ask. All right, what was this, higher self? What was this naked man on the trampoline? Oh, it was just showing so-and-so to have more fun. They got so serious. Okay, cool. There's always a reason. So if we stay open and just allow whatever to come up without judging it, it keeps us in that state of just getting all the information out. If you had a dream one night, you wouldn't think about it as you're writing it down. You just write it all down, and then you can go back and try to figure it out. That's kind of what I tell people we're doing. All right. The next tip would be to describe everything in detail. When I ask you to see something, sense something, experience something, describe it in detail. Think of it like describing the scene of a crime to someone. The more detail that you can put into that scene, the more that it really sets you into that scene. And it feels like you're really there. So first of all, I have no idea what you're experiencing. So if you don't tell me anything, it's going to be a pretty boring session. And really, just like in reality, the more details you can bring in, the better. We get hung up a lot on visualization. We're such visual creatures, but there are a lot of other ways to get information. It may be a seeing, a feeling, a sensing, a knowing, hearing, smelling, all these other ways of bringing information in. So, and this happens a lot with trauma. There's a lot of dark places in the world. If you're hiding in a closet, you aren't going to see anything. But if you're like, oh, I feel scared, oh, I hear footsteps, all these other things pull in information. Okay. Actually, you do this in reality all the time. This inner awareness. If I asked you, oh, are you male or female? You're not like, hold on, let me look. Yep, definitely male today. um, so you're actually doing this all the time without even knowing it. Do you feel young? Do you feel old? Do you feel healthy? Are you anxious? Like all these things are that inner knowing and nothing visual about it. Okay, so really try to tap into those other senses. All right. Um, then also remember to talk, and talk. I'm not in the dream with you, so it could be the most amazing thing in the world, but if you're like, wow, and then you don't say anything, it's going to be a very boring session. So remember, I have no idea what you're experiencing, so if you don't say anything, I have no clue. So the more you talk to it, the more it keeps you in that flow state of just letting stuff come through without like sitting there thinking about it. You're just talking and just letting it flow. And that really keeps you in that flow state. And a lot of times when we do this, it's like we open up a book and the pages are blank. But the second you start talking, the story starts to unfold. All right? Um, think of it like this. Imagine you're seeing a red swirling color. I don't know what that is, but if you don't say anything, that's where the story stops. But if you're like, oh, I'm seeing a red swirl. Oh, it's actually a marble. Oh, I'm playing marbles with my grandpa. Oh, this is our old house. I totally forgot about that. The story can evolve like that, but if you didn't say that first little bit, it would have just been like, you wouldn't have got very far. All right, so even those little things turn to big things. All right, a lot of people get hung up on, oh, maybe I just imagined that. Maybe I just made that up. Cool. I don't care if you made the whole thing up. What did you learn from it? You gave yourself some pretty good advice. So, what are you going to do with it? Just like anything, any other experience you have, people do these plant medicines. Cool. What is the takeaway? What are you going to do with that going forward? It's all brought forward for you to learn from, and really, this is your chance to move past it. Do you want to hang on to that? No, really, you can move through this stuff at the speed of thought. It's a conscious choice to let that go, and once you see what you're supposed to learn from a situation, you just don't need to hang on to it anymore. All right. Like I said, don't judge anything that comes up also, because remember, we get to go back and ask. And as we go through this, there are ways of releasing stuff. So just about everybody cries. Um, that's it's just part of it. That's the easiest way to release stuff. A lot of times we hold back our emotions, especially being a guy. You don't show your emotions, you hold it back. And really, this is a chance to move and have this stuff come out. So those emotions are stored in the body and they cause physical issues if they're not released. So the easiest way to release that is by crying, or a lot of times people get hot or cold, or some people shake, or they feel like they're spinning. All kinds of different things, all different ways of getting stuff out. Okay. A lot of times when we do this, stuff starts happening before the session. Like I talked about, like when people call me up, the wheels are already in motion. Okay. You get out of it what you put into it. So the more stuff you can put into it, the earlier you can start the process, the better. And stuff already starts happening. So a lot of times right before the session, people start getting these physical symptoms. It's a good sign. All this stuff is coming to the surface for you to deal with it. And really to move past it. Not even just deal with it, because that sounds kind of negative, but like really it's a chance to move past it. It's like, all right, it's coming up for a reason. Here we go. Don't need it anymore. And then it's just not a part of your life anymore. It's so weird. It's almost like it happened to someone else after you go through this. I always tell people to take a snapshot of yesterday, because your life won't be the same after this. It really is that powerful. You can really shift your life in a powerful way. If there's a better way, I'd be doing it. Alright, so hopefully that gives you a pretty good overview of a remote quantum healing session. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more information on how to do this on your own. You don't really need me. All the power is within you, and I guide people through those processes. Alright, thanks a lot, guys. Bye.